Welcome back, strangers. I was a maintenance worker at a camping resort in the Appalachian Mountains for several years. It was more like a rich camping resort with luxury cabins that had been renovated, but the place still had an old and rustic feel to it. It was miles away from civilization and was super peaceful, especially during the down season. The resort was originally built during the Roaring Twenties at the height of Prohibition. The Appalachian Mountains are infamous for moonshining operations, and I'm pretty sure this resort was the center of it all back in the day. There's a locked safe room hidden underground where they used to store moonshine, as well as secret passages underneath some of the oldest cabins that were also used to store the illegal liquor. In its heyday, the resort was visited by numerous members of high society that came to party with the forbidden spirits hidden underneath the resort. One night, towards the end of spring, before our busy season began, I was starting to become close with the new tourist manager of the resort. Her name was Kate, and that night she wanted us to sleep outside under the stars, but it began raining. I suggested that we go to sleep in the screened porch of one of the old cabins that hadn't been renovated yet. I thought it would be a pretty good compromise, and we could fall asleep to the sound of the rain falling. Hey, who says romance is dead? After we got everything set up and did the old in and out, it was sometime past 2 a.m. She fell asleep in my arms instantly, and I laid there, unable to fall asleep. I was worried I was going to disturb her, because I usually toss and turn when I have a hard time going to sleep. I figured we'd been laying there for over an hour when I heard what sounded like a door inside the empty cabin open and close. It was either the bedroom or bathroom. Both of the old doors squeaked really loud and struggled to open and shut. I knew they had to be oiled or replaced when we renovated that cabin. My first thought was that it was our boss, the resort owner's son. He's super nosy and has been trying to get in the new girl's pants ever since he hired her. He's also very demanding and entitled. I wouldn't put it past him to fire me if he knew the two of us were seeing each other. Yet, I didn't know why he would be sneaking around the resort at night, or how he would know that we were there. It was a pretty good-sized resort. I proceeded to hear footsteps coming from inside the cabin, moving towards the door to the screened-in porch. I laid there as still as I could, waiting for the door to open and have my boss lose his short temper when he discovered us. I prayed that he would walk away and not find us, but nothing happened. There were no receding footsteps and no more door noises. I stayed up the whole night and didn't hear another noise come from the cabin. There was nothing there except for me, Kate, and the empty cabin. The next morning, Kate rolled over and immediately asked me about the footsteps she heard the night before. Apparently, they had woken her up, and she had also stayed up all night trying to figure out where they were coming from and who they belonged to. She was terrified and would never go back to that cabin again. Unfortunately, I had to go back to the cabin nightly. Part of my job was having to make sure that all the lights were off and everything was shut down in the empty cabins at night. My boss liked to turn on the lights to the empty cabins to give the appearance like the resort had more guests than it actually did. Every night I went to the cabin after that, I always felt a sense of dread as I walked towards the cabin. I think it's because I never figured out what was in the cabin that night. The cabin was never renovated during the 4 years I worked at the resort. There was always some excuse that the project manager had for delaying the renovation of that cabin. I didn't mind, but I hated going to the cabin at night. Inside the living room of the cabin, there was a huge 175-pound swinging bed on chains that could be lifted up or down to make space for my guests staying at the cabin back in the day. Every night I went to the cabin after we heard the footsteps, I would open the front door of the cabin and find that bed swinging on its own, like someone or something had just gotten out of bed before I got there. What do you think was roaming that cabin during the night? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks, strangers, for watching. If you'd like to hear more strange stories, follow us on Amino, where we're posting strange content every other day. Also, be sure to follow us on our other social media so you never miss an update. And as always, stay strange.